All right. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Groton Committee of the Whole for Monday, March 27, 2023. Roll call. We have Deputy Mayor Depot, Councilor Sheffield, Councilor Carter, Councilor Norris, and the mayor here. Finance Director Ron Uhas is here, and we will commence. So the first one we're going to do is police, resignation of Police Chief Jenkins. Chief, you could come up. So we could discuss this and the difference between resignation and retirement. All right, so I received some feedback that we had resignation here. It's really not a resignation, it's really a retirement. No, it's really a resignation. But we're gonna call it a retirement. Because in 2018, R-18-7-74, there was a resolution that the mayor and council accept and approve the retirement of Lieutenant John E. Jenkins from the City of Groton Police Department effective July 2nd, 2018. That is the official retirement of Chief Jenkins. He then became the chief, and now he is finishing up his tour. He will finish up his tour in law enforcement as our chief, but technically he is resigning as the chief. I am going to change the resolution to retirement, and I think you guys received that. So that's what we're going to do. So the resolution that you will have in front of you Monday will say retirement, because he is retiring from police duties as police chief. So I just wanted to clarify the difference between the retirement and the resignation and why that language was used. With that, Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. My decision to retire from law enforcement altogether did not come without hesitation and second thoughts. I have been with the City of Groton for 34 years. I've truly enjoyed working here. The staff and the residents have been great. I appreciate everything that they've done. I'd like to thank all the counselors. Councilor Piazza, unfortunately, is not here at this time. Councilor McCabe, not here. Councilor Norris, Councilor Sheffield, Councilor Carter, Deputy Mayor Depot, and the mayor himself for working with me and providing me with information, insight, and input, and support. That's the biggest part, is support. Having counselors with knowledge in so many different areas such as traffic safety, school bus issues, and health, the inner workings of information technology, business management, judicial court system, current events, community events, as well as knowledge of the necessities and actions of working police departments, has been a tremendous help to me. You all have made my ability to accomplish departments' missions in an efficient and timely manner. I do not have anything planned. I do not have any other job lined up. I am not retiring for any specific reason other than playing a little more golf with my father-in-law. My brother Ron, who has retired before me, told me once that you will know when it's your time. And I believe this is my time. So there's no other reason than that. That relaxation and enjoy my kids as they grow older. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you. I'll open the floor up for discussion. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I just want to, on behalf of all the residents, thank you for your more than 30 years of service to the community. I don't think people quite realize how much sacrifice is involved in serving for that long. And obviously, personally, I want to thank you. It was a great transition from one chief to the next, and hopefully that will carry over for the next chief as well. And I just think you were the best person for the job, and you did a great job as chief, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilor Carter, you have the floor.
Yeah, hopefully I can save my send-off to like an appropriate send-off. Do we know, or do you feel comfortable saying, are we gonna have like a proper send-off for you, or is there like, or this is gonna?
I advised my wife that I did not want a party. However, as normal, she refused to listen to me.
Oh.
And apparently I will be having some kind of retirement party.
Okay, and my second, what about, as far as our body, is this gonna be the last time we see you?
No,
Formally?
no,
Or are
No.
we gonna see you
I'll be
again? That'd be my next question.
Yeah, I will be here till July 8th, or July 7th.
Okay.
Is when I officially
And,
retire.
And I intend to bring him in front of council for
Okay.
one last official presentation before he leaves.
okay,
That I didn't know.
that's good.
You're right, you did not know, because I did not consult
All
you.
right, I appreciate your service, but I'll save my comments for that time.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Sheffield.
Chief, once again, congratulations and on a long career here with the city, and we don't have many of those anymore. People that want to serve in a position as, especially law enforcement for that long, and like I said, we hope people will carry on how you have professionally for that long, that people will seek to serve like that in that capacity. So kudos to you for your service here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Norris, you have the floor.
Well, in the short time that I've known you, I just want to say thank you. You're a man of your word. You're a credit to yourself and your family, and also to the city. So don't start that way. So thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 4/3/23.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, chief, and we'll be talking more. Okay, department presentation, economic development, Sierra.
Good evening, everyone. So I have two things before you guys. One is for the Economic Development Commission. We received an application from a Cameron James. He has he did community service with the Planning and Economic Development Office a few years back. I have talked with the EDC chairman in regard to the application, as well as a couple of colleagues, and we are all in favor of him being appointed to the EDC. So we have brought forth his application for that purpose.
Okay, any questions or comments regarding that? With that, I'll take a motion to move the appointment of Cameron James to the mayor and council meeting of 4/3/23.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right,
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, Sierra?
Second item is an update on our branding initiative. So communication has gone out in this past month to our departments. The first communication is for the professional brand. So both of those for the city of Groton and Groton Utilities are complete, up to date. There are shared files within our organization so that all department heads and their administrative assistants and anyone that deals with the communications, external communications, has access to all of the deliverables, which includes a brand guideline, which is in a draft phase that will be edited. I'll get up to that. Email signature templates, letterheads, meeting agenda templates, envelopes, professional logos, both in black and white and in color. We have custom stock photography, specifically reserved for staff use. And then also Zoom backgrounds we created for that, so everyone has access to it. And as of March 1st, the professional brand standards are what departments will be using moving forward. Within this, you'll also highlight some milestones from this project. Just to go over them briefly, we started this initiative back in 2019. It started with a workshop with staff to kind of assess what are opportunities to improve our communication channels. In 2020, we did a competitive bid where we got 14 applications, of which Miranda Creative was selected as the preferred consultant. In 2021, we had successfully developed and launched the city's digital newsletter. We also identified the city of Groton's professional brands and preparations for the marketing and tagline information, as well as starting our collection of photos and video production for marketing material. In 2022, we did some internal training about content and how we kind of work together to start to roll some of this information out. We completed our marketing videos, and then we also really started to get into the development of the tagline, which is that marketing brand, and the community outreach for that. Now we are in 2023. We are wrapping everything up, so we have officially launched the professional and marketing brands. It is in a soft launch phase for the tagline brand, but I will explain that as we go. We are going to adopt the city's brand guidelines that come from this process, and also are in the process of developing a meaningful rollout of the tagline that leads up to our City Day of this year. For the tagline itself, as you guys know, the city of Groton chose history in the making, so this kind of provides a little bit of background of what that is. Just to read a little bit of the excerpt from the memo, Groton City has made its mark on history, but we're not finished yet. History continues to be written each passing day by those who live and work here. We believe this brand will showcase our city's proud history while inviting residents, businesses, and visitors to take part in our promising future. As I mentioned, the brand is currently in a soft launch phase, and over the coming months, the community will start to see it implemented, both in the community and then within each department. A few things that came up of kind of why did we choose Groton City. Groton City is referred to often within our community. We also have a sign on I-95 that highlights it as such. We believe this name will help create a distinct identity to promote the Groton City community. The brand itself features the obelisk of the Fort Griswold as well as a G. So it kind of celebrates our past and then our ongoing future. So a little expert, the city of Groton has contributed to the character and identity of the United States in numerous ways over the years. From the long presence of the Mashantucket Pequot tribe in southern Connecticut to the design and construction of the first nuclear submarine. History in the Making pays tribute to this history while also recognizing the city's role in today's innovations, such as the development of life-saving drugs and the growth of offshore wind sector. As it relates to individuals' histories, including families who put down roots in the community and businesses reaching major milestones. History in the Making welcomes all to be a part of our ever-developing story and helps our city continue to make its mark on history. And then in the back of it, it kind of gives a little bit more of an overview of the obelisk, the G, and kind of what the colors came from, and et cetera. That was all I had to present. We do have brand guidelines that are drafted. We are in the process of incorporating the tagline within it so that the staff can understand when to use the professional one, when to use the tagline one. And so once that is updated, I would definitely share it with this commission. Or council, sorry.
Okay, we'll open it up for discussion. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you. I like that we're launching this. Finally, I know it's been a long process to get here, but I was just talking to someone the other day about how, if we had just decided it on a whim, people would also be unhappy with that. So it takes time to figure out what is going to work best. I did receive the email, because I think the initial email went out to staff a couple weeks ago, because you said March 1st it was effective. Have you had much feedback from staff since then with questions or anything, or have any of that? Has there been any pushback on it?
Not that I received from internal staff.
And then, do we have a plan? Is there going to be like a social media kind of like launch? Obviously not yet, because as you said, this is like a soft launch, but once we kind of integrate it internally, you know, kind of like check out our new stuff, to push that out on social media so people recognize the logo and the changeover. I think it's brings a little excitement to a new, kind of a new era, which is really cool. So, and are you the person, so if someone has a question, because I like the detail on the fonts and the icons and everything. I think that's helpful for people even like internally to know like why we're doing it this way, where all of these things come from, the colors, why this is important. So people aren't just like, oh, this is a good green, the different green than we
Yeah.
use. So, what was I gonna say? I just
Am I
thought-
the point person?
Yes, so if people have questions or if they want to verify that this is an appropriate use or whatever, is that all going through your office?
At the moment, yes.
Okay.
And to answer your other question, so it's in soft launch. We're gonna have a webpage that is dedicated to this brand and goes into more detail about kind of why we did it and all the resources that are available from it. We will have social media outreach. We will have a press release that goes in a day. And then a number of other things that all kind of lead up to City Day and a big celebration of this in the community.
That was gonna be my next question, is if we're doing a big thing for City Day, because obviously City Day, we have signs and iconography from like the old logos and everything, so, that'll be cool to have, like, that'll be kind of a big launch, so,
Yep.
cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselor Norris, you have the floor.
I think you did a great job putting this all together and crossing your T's, dotting your I's. And I know I'm forgetting, so you gotta help me remember this. Could you remind me what the cost of implementation of all of this will be, excluding staff time?
As far as what we spent to date, or?
Well, I'm just thinking moving forward now, is there a plan for phasing out current letterhead? Is it a cold shut-off, no matter how many boxes of reams of paper you have? The shut-off is such a date. And then moving forward, will each department, I don't know the process. Does each department get their own letterhead and envelopes from somewhere else? Or is there a citywide station, so to speak, that everyone draws from?
So, the effective date, so as of March 1, now everybody's using it. So if there is, we kind of caught people at a good time because some people had old stuff that they already had and other people were getting ready to make purchases. So effective as of March 1, everybody should be using the new, all the new templates. Everything is available. We traditionally use Minuteman Press for a lot of our orders, so they have everything as well on file. So departments can easily make those customizations to the letter, to the envelopes or
Business cards. that
business
kind of
cards.
stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I am, at this moment, I did request contact information from departments so that I can create those business card proofs to send to each department, because we kind of have to create it in one platform to then send it, have a copy for it, for a Minuteman. As far as the transition, well, the transition itself is already done, but then we are working, Miranda Creative is doing a lot of help with us right now on our newsletter. That is something that we do want to maintain, but we are transitioning that over to staff.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Counselor Carter.
I was all with everything and together until just the last comment. So I remember last time we spoke about, I forget the director, the owner of Miranda, the young lady that we spoke with. What's her name?
Maria?
Maria, yeah. So it was under, I assume that, so the seal, the city seal logo that we use on regular government business, such as that one up there, she had stated that would remain the same.
It is,
And
so,
so, So when Counselor Norris just said letterhead changes and everything else, my question would be, I thought this was for a marketing standpoint. Why would the regular seal and the regular, like, why would something like this change?
So the seal is staying the same, but the way that it has like seal and then like the letters next to it and it was a little bit refreshed, that's the biggest difference. And so in all of that refresh,
This seal is staying the same, but the lettering is gonna be different, correct? But then on all the marketing stuff, that seal is gonna change to what we had discussed before. The marketing, not the symbol, I would say, the symbol, that is going to change.
yes.
Okay, all right, I was just gonna make it clear, because the last 2 or 3 minutes, I'm assuming that everything's changing now. Just
Oh,
based off
because-
what, letterheads and all that other stuff. So this is staying the same,
Yes.
lettering's different, but as far as marketing standpoint, that symbol's gonna in appear on everything else,
It would be
right?
it would be
But
the
that's not
history and
to
the
say.
Groton.
Okay, 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 I got you. That's it.
Councilor Sheffield?
Sierra, is the color going to stay blue and green, or do we confirm that was,
For the tagline, yes, so the blue comes from, so there's a dark blue in our professional brand. You can really see it in the city of Groton. That's the same blue that's in our tag, the History in the Making tagline brand. The green is a play off of the green that is in our seal, but is just made a little bit brighter just to kind of bring a little bit more life. It showed up as a little bit dull in comparison to it, so they just brightened it up a little bit specifically for the tagline.
Okay, anything else? Because this is just informing. Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you. Sierra, thank you. All right, under appointments, Walter Wojcik is currently the interim building and zoning official. We don't always have an interim official. Last time when Carlton left, I did not have an interim zoning official, but we have one now. I'm using Walter to put in that position. And that's pretty much it. So, Deputy Mayor Depot.
So is this, it's just until we hire another building official?
Absolutely. He is we have a job opening, we have a job rec that's open. We've reached out to the state and to different agencies to try to get it filled. We've reached out to Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments to get their help with filling the position as well. In addition to that, once we fill that position, we will be looking for another building official with anticipation that Walter may be retiring down the road.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Ish?
Well, yeah. So did Walter volunteer to step in and help as building official, or did it just naturally happen because he's the only one with
Nope.
the experience in that
We had-
department?
No, we had a discussion with him because he and his wife had a discussion about what time constraints and time commitments and those kind of things, because he also took on harbor management, and I'm gonna be stepping in for Conservation Commission, but he'll be doing, there's one other one that he has. So, but yes, he agreed, and we signed an MOU and give him a salary adjustment and that kind of thing.
That was gonna be my next question.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Carter?
I was just gonna say on record, I think that's a good move. Walter's he's been with the city for a long time, and I think just the last couple minutes and you asking that, it was kind of to hint and make clear that he's going to be retiring, and he may not particularly want that position, but if it was available, I believe he would definitely do a good job and fill that role for something that was long-standing. But we do know he's going to retire, so it's a fitting position and title for him, and he should be compensated as such.
And he is. And he has stepped up and is taking the lead on this, and he's in the thick of it with the Branford Manor remediation issues and the deficiencies that were identified, permitting, and COs and things like that.
So essentially, and this, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So I think ahead. I might not even be here, but just to think ahead, we may be filling 2 positions rather than 1 position with in lieu of his retirement.
We may be, I'm hoping to keep him on for a little bit longer. We're talking about that now. I don't want to get into that publicly,
No, I
but
gotcha.
building officials are difficult. The state of Connecticut is not creating a lot more building officials. They also don't use reciprocity, meaning if somebody comes in as a certified building official from another state, the state of Connecticut does not recognize their credentials. So we've sent emails, that's not true. We've sent letters asking them to consider it. I've talked to my legislators to get them to talk to Hartford to see if they'll consider it. So there are things that we're trying to do in order to make this burden easier on us. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 4/3/23.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, let's go to Groton Utilities. Ron? So we have 3 items for Groton Utilities that have been passed on to us from the Groton Utilities Commission.
You want me to just go through them?
Yes, please.
Okay. The first one is HVAC equipment at the wastewater treatment facility. As you know, we've been working with the engineering firms and submitted to the state an upgrade plan or an overall upgrade plan that actually we're in the process of getting a grant that helped paid back. One of the first phases of that plan is to update the heating and ventilation and cooling systems at the facility, especially in the Headworks building. So it was designed by Wright Pierce. We hired Wright Pierce to help us bid and evaluate the bids that came in. The bids came in a little bit higher than what we thought, but within the amount that we have available in the current bonding for wastewater treatment. So that's what's being presented in front of you. There were 3 bidders.
Any questions or comments on this line item? Councilor Sheffield?
Ron, now this project here, is that sort of a remediation of the odor control down there at the wastewater plant? Is this,
The HVAC system in the building is supposed to recirculate the air, and actually it should create a negative vacuum on the building so the air doesn't blow out of the doors. It gets sucked in and goes through the treatment system before exhausting out of the roof or something like that. So it should help with odors that emanate out of the that building. You know, and that's the receiver building that receives all of the raw sewage from everything. So that whole head end building, I don't know if you've ever been in there. Really, that air needs to be treated before it goes out into the atmosphere. So yes.
and how long, I guess, when is the project going to begin, I guess, as far as the installation?
Well, after we get approval, we will award the bid, and it'll start immediately. They're going to order equipment. And then they'll coordinate equipment times with construction to try to have it all fit in appropriately so that you're not ripping the place apart and then waiting for parts and pieces to come in before you put it together. So it will depend on equipment times. But I'm under the impression it should be, I think it was about 1.5 years.
For completion, I guess?
Right.
Okay, about 18 months, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 4/3/23.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, LIG Consultants.
The second is to issue a purchase order to a company that we have a master service agreement with, which is LIG. As you know, the upgrades to the substation and the 115,000 volt lines that feed the substation are in the process of being updated. As the project evolved, it was discovered that they could create a ring bus with the primary 115,000 volt breakers on the high side at the substation. And what this would allow is them to avoid single line contingencies, i.e. if one line is out, it allows them to always have two other lines as backup. And in certain configurations, if one line was out, the second line would might be having to be taken out, meaning that we would only have one line online during any given day. So by creating the ring bus, it creates a tie between the last two transmission lines, and that allows us to have two lines in service at all times, which will increase reliability and actually allow a lot of flexibility as the last line is installed in the summer-fall time period. So most of the equipment has been ordered, a good amount of it was installed, but the final engineering wasn't complete because it wasn't approved by the ISO yet to tell us to do it. Now it was just approved, so we're going to move forward with that. And this engineering allow us to put that online before we get to the construction of the last phase at the end of summer.
Any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Depot.
Can you explain to me the difference between Wright Pierce and LIG? Because they're both engineering firms, right?
LIG is a specialized engineering firm that purely does basically substation engineering. So
Is that not something that Wright Pierce does?
LIG actually works on all of the studies for ISO. They've done all of the studies to allow us to put fuel cells at our different customer locations, and they have the comprehensive modeling that actually is required in the relays at the substation to allow for breaker coordination and timing.
Okay.
So they're specialized purely in what they're doing for us.
I'm not questioning that. They're both titled engineering.
Yep.
So just for the layperson, does Wright Pierce have the capacity and the employees to do that job that we are potentially hiring LIG to do?
Our master service agreement with Wright Pierce is for the water side of the company. We're currently on the electric side of the company, and there's different firms that we use that specialize in electricity.
And you still haven't answered. So
I do
answer-
not know.
answer. So here's the question. I'm going to ask, may I?
Yes, please.
Okay. The question is, we are currently using LIG consultants to do this job.
Yep.
Is this within Wright Pierce's capacity and capability to do under the contract that we have?
Not under our contract with them.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 4/3/23.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. And then lastly, Senate
Each year, when you drive into operations, you drive around some drying basins. There's three very large. Sometimes they have a lot of water in them. Sometimes there's not a lot of water in them, and they contain residuals. It's the alum residuals that fall out in the filters inside the water filtration plant. So that is what is filtered out of the water. and remains in the drying basins. So it goes out into the basins, it settles to the bottom, we drain the water out at some point, and then we let it dry, and then we remove those residuals from there. And to date, we've been removing them on-site in the watershed to a very large pile that it just sits there and it dries, and it's probably there for a long time. We have a permit that allows us to do that. Recently, with the change of staffing, our environmental engineer looked into having a single stream reuse, which actually takes those residuals off-site, brings it to a blending facility where it actually is allowed to be composted and used in other fertilizer type of activities. And it gets it off our watershed, because why would you want to take stuff you're taking out of the water and put it back on the land around your reservoirs? So this was sole sourced because in the sole sources attached, because Synagro is currently the only vendor that coordinates with ECR of Danielson for beneficial use of drinking water residuals in eastern Connecticut. And currently the only permitted facility to work with eastern Connecticut. The price was just about the same as we spend each year and have budgeted. So it's within our budget, and it isn't going to cost any extra to do that extra hauling, which is unusual considering diesel prices.
Questions or comments on this line item? Councilor Norris.
We used to, I'm gonna use the word dredge, and leave it on site. Now we're dredging and then transporting it somewhere else. State permitting is gonna go through Groton Utilities or the company that will be doing the work?
The beneficial reuse site has a permit to do this. We work with the company and our environmental engineer to make sure that the right chain of custody
Yeah.
is there so that we follow all the right permits to get it to where it's going.
Okay, but who's doing the permitting? Is it
Um,
the city or the trucking company?
When we put it on our own site,
Yep.
we use our permit
Right.
there. We're actually using the recycling center's permit
Okay.
for where it's going and making sure the chain of custody tracks it
Got it.
to them.
Do you know what route they're gonna take yet? As they transport?
I don't, but it's going to Danielson,
Okay.
so probably the most direct.
Yeah. Just ask.
Any other questions or comments regarding this line item? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 4/3/23.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay. Ron Uus, Groton City and Groton Utilities Financials. These are informing.
Do we want to do this one first, or you want to do the COLA first?
Well, you know what? Let's do the COLA first. So let me get to I think did everybody have a resolution for the ordinance authorizing the mayor and council to approve the retirees pension? Okay. I will need a motion to add this to this agenda in order to discuss it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, Ron, talk about the COLA and what we talked about, the retirement board and resolution.
So every year, this calculation is based off of ordinance, I believe that was done around 2000, that created the COLA increase for retirees or potential COLA increase. The way the formula works is it's based on the average change in the CPIW from the current year, with and then take 25% of that change up to a max of 1.5%. of a COLA increase. This year's calculation came out where the average change in the CPIW is 8.46, so 25% of that would be a 2.12, which is what the actuary did the cost assumption on, was the 2.12. However, the max based on the way that the formula works is 1.5, so the cost is a little bit high in this, in the cost projection done by the actuary, which we're gonna have them redo, which it'll drop it. However, in our actuary evaluation, it takes into an assumption that there would be a COLA increase, so that's already built into it. So if this was not to be approved, then our ADC would essentially drop. The historical on the COLA increases, so the 2023, that was approved by the retirement board, that was been forwarded to you, would be the 1.5, which again is the max based on the formula. Last year's 2022 was a 1.31%, 21 was a 0.3%, 20 was a 0.42%, 19 was a 0.64%, and 18 was a 0.53%, just to kind of give you a little bit of idea of what those COLA increases have been historically. So that's kind of the history on the COLA. Again, it comes every year to the council, based from the retirement board.
Questions or comments on this resolution? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 4/3/23.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, Ron, go to the financials, which are informing.
So we'll start with the city financials, which were on your seats this evening. We are 8 months through through February, so therefore we should be about 66% spent if you average it out throughout the year. Obviously, as we talked about, when we go over these, some departments aren't averaged out divided by the 12. So if you look through, we'll kind of want to do is focus on the ones that are below that 33.3%, and it's going to be the same ones that we've talked about every time we've gone over them. Again, the citizens' participation only has 7.67%, but that is mainly made up of City Day, which is a one-time event in August, which is why that's down. Police is still above the 33.3 at 37.36, so they're right on track with their year to date. Parks and Rec is at 33.76, so they're back above the average for the year, but again, that's just the timing of programs, the summer programs, and just the timing of their expenditures that they have. General insurance mainly is based off of the July insurance payments, which is why that's got the 28.66%. And then finally, the debt service, which is at 1.3%, remaining because all the debt service payments, with the exception of one interest payment that was made in March, had been paid through the end of February. So overall, everybody's on track with their budget from a year-to-date perspective.
And with that, do you want to answer
Yeah.
Counselor Norris's questions?
So hopefully, these were questions that I believe came up during the ARPA presentations when the roof was being discussed. And one of the questions was the city's debt. So I just looked at just the general fund. So this is just the debt that is paid for through the taxes. So it doesn't include the sewer or electric and water. So currently outstanding is 1.8 million. 1.83 in total debt service at this point in time. So that is all of the debt within the general fund. Our debt service makes up 1.8% of the budget expenditures. So when we look at our debt service versus our total budget expenditures, it's only 1.8% from the payments. I believe a couple of the other questions that came out of that was the ARPA and used for matching. Based on everything, so there's some limitations to it, but for the most part, it is not allowed to be used to make up the matching piece, especially from a federal. I didn't go into the complete detail with states, but from the interim ruling, in which the final didn't really change it, it appears that it would not be eligible to be used for matching. And then I think the final question, if I got them all, was about using a blended approach to funding certain things. Meaning that, can we use, so say we have $1 million project, can we use 500,000 from ARPA, 500,000 from either budgeted money or issuing debt? And you can do that as long as the piece that ARPA is funding is an eligible cost. So So it does allow that. So if you do have a big $1 million project that only 500,000 of it would have been ARPA eligible, you could only use 500,000, and then you'd have to figure out how to fund the rest in another mechanism. But blending is allowed.
Thank you.
I think that was all of them.
Okay. Any questions on this part of the, you have one more? Go ahead. Counselor Norris?
Blame Ron. So, does the city have a policy on what the debt limit or the debt service can be at any time?
We had this conversation this afternoon. Go ahead, Ron.
So we do not have a city central policy. We just follow the state statute and the
Yeah.
limitations
Alright.
based
Yep.
on the state statute. But we don't have a direct policy that says that you can only have X amount of your general fund expenditures being a certain percent for debt service or anything
Yeah.
like that. We just truly follow state statute at this point.
Thank you.
Ron and I are talking about that. There are a couple of things that we are gonna codify, but I'm debating on whether or not I'm gonna do that. I'm concerned about tying my hands or tying the future mayor and council's hands by putting a solid thing in there and not following the CGS. So, at this point, I'm leaning towards just following
Yeah.
the CGS. I mean, the town has something, and they're up against that now because of the school bonding, and now there are things that they need to bond that they can't because they have no room.
Right.
So,
Thank you, Bill.
any other questions or comments on this line item? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Groton Utilities.
So we'll kind of go through these as we normally do. So page 6, the electric division. Row 19, total electric revenue is 39 million versus a budget of 36 million, or 2.8 favorable to budget. The big driver there is we did have that increase in the PPA. And I think that was a question the last time, so I did a little bit of homework before we came in. Our total PPA TCA adjustment from the fiscal year to date is 6.4 million. So just kind of as to where, and that there was the change where it went from the 27.2 adjustment per megawatt hour up to the 43.22 effective January 1. So that's just kind of where, so the budget accounted for the original PPA TCA adjustment, but then with that increase, that's driving the revenue over, which then on the other side of that, you'll see the purchase power expense is also up based on the increase. So the total operating expenses are 41 million versus a budget of 37 million, or 3 million over, again, driven by the purchase power. Net operating from operations, line 52, is 4.7 million versus a budget of 3.6, or a million favorable at the end of February for the electric. And we'll jump to page 12, which is the water division. Row 17, total water revenue, 8.3 million versus a budget of 8, or 238,000 favorable. A little bit of all classes there are just a little bit over budget. There's no one class that really stands out. Total operating expenses are 7.8 versus a budget 7.8, or 21,000 favorable to budget. The main one there is the depreciation being over the budget, and the operating and maintenance being below the 188. So again, that is over budget by the 22,000. Net income before the grant is 55,000 versus a budget of negative 205,000, or 261,000 favorable at the end of February for the water division. And then finally, we'll jump to page 17, which is the sewer. Row 15, total sewer revenue is 2.6 million versus budget 2.7, or 151,000 below budget. Again, this is the main driver. This is the industrial, driven by the deduct. Total operating expenses, row 26, is 2.2 million versus budget 2.4, or 249,000 under budget. Leaving the net income, row 37, at 178,000 versus a budget of 62,000, or 116,000 favorable at the end of February.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
Is there and maybe there's three different reasons, but is there a reason that our operation and maintenance cost is so off budget? Are
So-
we trying to save money, operation and maintenance, or are we missing personnel that we're not spending money, or are we not doing maintenance that we're not spending money? What's the reason there? Because in an electric, it's 15%. That seems like quite a big variance.
So the big variances driving that is there's a variance in the IT currently, and I believe that's the implementation of certain software that they have going, but there's a, IT is below budget, professional services are below budget, and I believe with electric, they've shifted the capital versus operating and maintenance labor-wise. So with electric, or actually any of these three divisions, if an employee is working on a capital project, their time actually goes towards the fixed asset, and it comes out of the operating and maintenance budget and not expensed. So based on the allocation of what the employees are doing, it could change the operating and maintenance expense. And then also there are some things that are one-time, like for the water, they do flushing at a certain time during the year, the hydrant flushing. And the way that the budget is built, revenue is done, projected on a monthly basis for budget. However, the O&M is just divided by 12 and allocated on a straight monthly basis. So it could be just the timing.
So then where would I see that capital expense? Is it, like you're saying, some of the
So
labor
it's-
is shifted to capital projects?
So it would end up going to the balance sheet.
So we'll see that in the budget book?
When the
When we-
budgets come through, yeah, the capital is broken out in the budget as its own, even though, so with this, the general fund, you see the expenses of the department, and then sometimes there's some capital built in there. With the electric, water, and sewer budgets, you will see the O&M budget, the operating maintenance side, and then also the capital projected plan that they have.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Norris.
So, common language. So a year ago here, we were looking at the numbers and we could see COVID. Residential was strong, commercial was low because people weren't going to work, because businesses weren't open. All right. So are we seeing that gap close now? Is it still where it should be? Is it still?
It's staying, the way that the budget was designed, I have to recall, because we've kind of switched some methodology up from the revenue standpoint, where we're doing just the previous year's actuals as far as sold, then we went to a 3-year average, and I think I know the budget we're going forward is this current year. I think this budget went back to the single, but it still may have the 3-year average.
I think you're right.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that? Okay, in general, so next week is April 3rd. By the charter, I'm required to give you the budget on the first Monday of April. So so there was an email from Councilor Norris that asked some questions. So you will have my letter, which will tell you what the mill rate is, all the expenditures, overall breakdown, what my direction to staff was. That answers some of your questions. Also, the capital projects will be listed in there as well. And then in the next month, Sarah's gonna be coming in and talking about economic development items. And then in the next couple months, in the next month to maybe 2 months, probably 1 month though, all these questions should be answered.
Thank you.
Because we are going in that season.
Right.
And that's it. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, let me make sure. Laura, go ahead.
Comments? Move-
Well, I'm ready to close out.
Right.
We have nothing else on the agenda. So I'm ready to get a motion to adjourn.
I guess what I was about to ask, and I don't know if this is the proper form, so excuse me. Is it possible to have Ledgelight come and give some type of update on their handling of their thought process of their vision of what's happening at Branford Manor?
Sure, we could do that at the next cow.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that was it.
I want to talk to you so I make sure I get an understanding of what the expectation is.
Right. Okay, thank you.
And although they are a health department, I don't direct them. So I can say, hey, will you come and give a presentation on?
Right,
And it will be their presentation.
right, yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yep, we can do that for the April
Yes,
cow,
That's fine.
committee of the whole. Absolutely.
thank you.
Now, since it's April, it's the first month of the quarter, so this will be committee meetings. So the first month of the quarter is committee meetings, second, third months, the second Monday will be special cows. All right? And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Ron. All right, don't,